Happening. Welcome back to a Be Wise podcast. I'm your host, Chris Y. Wright. It's been a while since I've done a podcast. Wow, it's been a while since I've done a video. I'll tell you what happened. My podcast studio went down. It wouldn't come on. I kept trying to reboot it. And you know what we do. We try and fix things ourselves. That's just what guys do. So I sent it off. I sent it back to Rode. They were very accommodating, answered all my emails, helped me with the return process. So I returned it, and multiple weeks went by. I'm like, damn, I'm losing my momentum. You know how this podcast game works. You got to keep making videos. So I kept reaching out to them. They finally responded and said, and this is not against Rode, very good company and very accommodating with the tech, the tech and all that stuff. So they finally decided, hey, we couldn't fix your unit. We're going to actually replace it with a new one. Yes. So I just got it back a couple days ago, and we're back. And I'm going to try and be diligent about doing a short podcast every day. So here we are. A lot has happened since my last podcast. I can tell you that the ICE protests are out of control. It sickens me to my core that people are in the street protesting law enforcement when they are just trying to make us safe. But what sickens me even more is adults, professional adults like Don Lemon, disrupting church services. So we had a young lady, unfortunately, get killed by the police. She and her wife were antagonizing ICE, what they call protesting. And unfortunately, she met her demise. I don't celebrate that. But ladies and gentlemen, you gotta stay out of the streets. You just have to. All right. So, but I want to start with Don Lemon and Megyn Kelly, who I love. I thought she was the best to speak on this because she is an attorney. And I know that Don Lemon is going to try and litigate this because the Justice Department said, we're coming at you, Don. We are coming after you. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. So let's take a look at what Megyn Kelly said about Don Lemon and his disruption of the church. Check this out.
I want everyone in jail. I want all of them arrested.
You are a fake Christian.
This is the red line, and they've crossed it.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful.
Don Lemon lectured half of the parishioners about how they really had an obligation to sit there and fucking take it.
These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on.
Some people are too dumb to be allowed to do the news.
There's a constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
He's too dumb and doesn't know shit about the law or the U.S. Constitution.
People here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable.
Has no fucking clue what he is saying to that pastor there. You're going to learn the hard way, sir, how wrong you are.
Look, he's hugging his kid. I just imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. That's what protesting is about.
You're too stupid to understand the law, but this one also happens to be illegal. You know how it's illegal to harass people, to show up at the abortion clinic? You're not allowed to do that. Well, guess what? That same law also applies to places of worship. There are some very limited, but this is one of them, limits on your First Amendment rights. This is the line beyond which we cannot allow them to cross. I don't care if it takes the National Guard, if it takes all of Pam Bondi's DOJ, if it takes President Trump personally making a visit to this church. I don't care what has to be done, but this is the red line and they've crossed it.
So, Don Lemon, you've crossed the line and you're pissing people off. But I wanted to show you a Megyn clip, and there's thousands of clips everywhere on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X. They're all talking about Don Lemon. He goes, how did I become the face of this? You're Don Lemon, okay? You have a following. You have 2 million followers on TikTok. I don't know where you are. Trust me, the people that organized this, they used you. They used you like a pawn and you fell for it because since leaving CNN, you want to stick it to the man. You want CNN to know that you're important. So you're going to jump in any pool that you can get your face out there and make a name for yourself, even if it's a bloody pool. You're an idiot, Mr. Lemon. And then how did I become the face of this? And he goes, I didn't even know where this protest was or what was happening, but yet he was in there screaming something like, abolish ICE, abolish ICE. Well, your day is coming, Don. Your day is coming. You know, and
during the protests,
there's no
Lemon
excuse.
talked to the pastor
Yeah.
who was leading the service and had the gall to ask him, don't you think Jesus would understand?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will
That's like, I have to take care of my flock.
Okay,
my
but listen,
family.
we live there's a constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be
That's
very
why we're
respectful.
here.
Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Oh my God, he's not
That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and
worship.
love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
No
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
Okay, just like I need to take a deep breath. This is so infuriating. Some people are too stupid to be allowed into the news. And that's saying something. That's saying something. Some people are too dumb to be allowed to do the news. He's too dumb. He's too dumb. He's too ideological. He's too sympathetic to the terrorists there.
And that's exactly why he's no longer in the news. Sorry, Megan, I had to stop you.
And doesn't know shit about the law or the U.S. Constitution. Has no fucking clue what he is saying to that pastor there. That they have a First Amendment right to be there. You're going to learn the hard way, sir, how wrong you are.
And who is he to question people about Jesus? Wouldn't Jesus want? What Jesus wants, what the church should be. You're talking to a pastor, Don. Okay. You don't strike me as someone who knows about the church very much. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
Lemon was also outside the church when some of the parishioners left and admitted it must have been traumatic for them. But he says, hey, that's what protesting's all about. Making children scared. Such a sweet guy. Don.
I'm going to stop there. But you get the point. You know, of all of the protests that's going on against ICE, they're going to go after resistance protesters in a church on the day of worship, when I'm sure there were better days to do that. Listen, when there's protest, you're going to have protest resistors. That's just the nature of protesting. People that are for, people that are against. But what you don't do, Don, is go up in someone's place of worship. And I hope the Justice Department comes down hard on you, man. I really do. Even if it's something like, even if they don't find anything, I want it to be very inconvenient. I want you to spend a ton of money on attorneys, all your TikTok money, all your YouTube money. I want it going to attorneys. And I'm sure you still have money back from your CNN contract. So that's enough about Don Lemon, but let's look at what's going on around the country. We got New York City. What are we doing, people? What are we doing? You know, you got people protesting on bridges. You know, what are we doing? Isn't that what Sebastian Maniscalco says? What are we doing? Now, this one really gets me. This is going to This one is really good.
Estado, I Estado, Colorado, nuestro Estado, I Estado, Colorado, nuestro Estado, I Estado, Colorado.
Okay, so they were speaking in Spanish. They were doing native tribal dances. Um, they had a Mexican flag. I didn't see any American flags out there. And of course, they're protesting ICE. Just get out the way. Just let ICE do their job. And this is going to be the crux of the matter here. I'm going to show you this video and then I'm going to talk about it. This is an ICE officer who was said, we are going after a sex offender and you guys are hindering that process. Check it out.
So you're reporting, we're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
No, we're pressed. We're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
And that's what I want to talk about today because I just want you guys, listen, I'm all for the First Amendment. I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm all for the right to protest, but do it on the side. You're getting up in their faces with cameras. You're standing in front of their cars. You're trying to fight them while they're pulling people out of cars and going into homes. A friend of mine just got hired by ICE, and he told me that the paycheck was $120,000 a year. Monetarily, income-wise, best job he's ever had. And after a few days on the job, he was like, I just don't understand Americans. And he was a Democrat. He was a liberal. He's the one I used to trade barbs with back and forth about libs and conservatives and Trump and Kamala. And now he's radicalized all the way to the right because of you people in the streets, making his job hard. His wife, his couple of kids. And he just feels like every time I go out there, I hate these people. He hates these liberals in the streets. And then you guys are going, shame, shame. You're shaming and doxing ICE agents who have families just like you do, who have loved ones, friends, parents, and they're just trying to make a living. Just trying to make a living. They are the messengers. They're just doing their job. ICE agents don't make the laws, guys. They just follow them. Protesting ICE workers is like yelling at cashiers because you don't like the store prices. They are the wrong target. If people are mad about immigration rules, they should be protesting the politicians in DC. They're the ones who wrote the laws, not the people hired to enforce them. They're out here trying to keep your community safe, trying to remove dangerous people from the street. A big part of what ICE does is finding and removing people who've committed serious crimes, like human trafficking or gang activity. They are here to stop the bad guys. And protesting ICE can make it harder. It makes it harder for them to get these specific, dangerous individuals off the streets, which are on a list. Here are the targets for today, gentlemen. Go get them. And it makes neighborhoods less safe. Let's be honest. And another thing, rules are rules. For a country to work, the laws that are on the books have to mean something. If we just stop enforcing immigration laws because of protests, it sends a message that laws are optional. Maybe we'll follow them. Maybe we won't. How about we protest the laws and they'll just go away? It is not fair to the people who are trying to come to this country the right way, through a legal process, through tons of bureaucracy and red tape and timing and calls and emails and letters and send this document and send that document in. You know, there's dating sites in South America? Okay. So if you meet, let's say I'm a guy, I meet a woman in, let's say, Colombia. We hit it off. I go back and forth. We visit. We start a family. It should not take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years even to get my new wife to the United States. So you got to go through a whole legal process. And if we didn't stop enforcing these rules, it's just not fair to those people who are trying to do it the right way. These people have, one sec. My phone was vibrating. This is very important. These people have families too, right? Some of the protests just go way too far. Like I said, they're doxing agents, putting their home addresses online, right? Puts regular people like you and I and their kids in danger just for doing their career work. When protesters block ICE vans or surround agents, it creates a very scary, high tension situation where someone is much more likely to get hurt. Screaming at the agents on the streets, it doesn't actually change the system. It just creates more division, prevents the government from functioning. You're spreading fear. And often these protests, they create a lot of panic in neighborhoods that might not even be necessary, making people more afraid of law enforcement in general. Notice I said more afraid of law enforcement. So at the end of the day, right, you can have a country, you can't have a country without borders. You cannot have a country without borders. And you can't have borders without someone to watch them. And this is what ICE is doing. And you think ICE is just out there grabbing people off the street randomly. They're not. Now, if you run, if you see ICE showing up and you run, they're going to chase you. If I was going down a road and there was a traffic stop at the light and I'm in line to come, and I decide to bang a U-turn and run the other way, they're coming after me. And I could be innocent as hell. I could just be trying to get to work on time. Protesting ICE is attacking the symptoms of the problem rather than the cause. And it puts both the agents and the public safety at risk. And I know what all the rebuttals are. Some people are like, oh, well, ICE is tearing families apart. The focus shouldn't be on the enforcement, but the legal process. ICE is like, they're just usually carrying out a judge's final order. If we stop enforcing these orders, we're essentially saying the immigration court decisions just don't matter. It's also important to note that many separations happen because the law requires adults and children to be processed differently for the children's safety, to prevent human trafficking. Listen, we all want families to stay together, but we also need a system that follows the laws. You can't have a legal system where no actually means stay anyway. Well, ICE violates people's human rights. We want people gone too, because if I bring up the deporter-in-chief, Barack Obama, then people, their rebuttal is, yeah, but it's the way you're doing it. You're violating human rights. You're putting people in detention. Listen, while any loss of life is a tragedy, ICE manages a massive population, hundreds of thousands of people. You may hear a story about one or two. The vast majority of these facilities, they meet high standards. And the crisis is often caused by overcrowding, which happens when the border isn't secured or when Congress doesn't provide enough funding for better facilities. And then blaming the agents for the conditions is like blaming a doctor for a crowded waiting room. If you want better conditions, you need better funding and a more controlled flow of people, not less enforcement. And my biggest pet peeve is we should abolish ICE entirely. Yeah. How did defund the police go? Okay, now you want to abolish ICE. Listen, you abolish ICE, this will be a public safety vacuum waiting to happen. ICE doesn't just do deportations. They also stop human trafficking, child exploitation, which everyone's like, release the Epstein files. But yet, you want a situation where there's more of it in the United States across our borders. ICE stops drug smuggling, like fentanyl, and we know we have a fentanyl problem. If you get rid of ICE, you are essentially opening the door for gangs and cartels to operate freely inside of our neighborhoods. Abolishing ICE doesn't make the problem go away. It just takes the police off the beat. And who's going to stop the cartel or the traffickers if ICE isn't there? And one of the last things is ICE agents are too aggressive and they're wearing masks. These agents are often going after very dangerous criminal targets, including gang members and violent felons. And they wear protective gear and masks to prevent the doxing that you are causing, protesters. And protesters find out these guys' home addresses. They threaten their families. It's a matter of officer safety in an increasingly hostile environment. When you are arresting known gang members, you don't show up in a polo shirt. They use these tactics to make sure that everyone, the agent and the suspect, gets out alive. Well, they're targeting innocent people. ICE priority is actually criminal aliens. That's who's on their list. Statistics show that the vast majority of the interior arrests are people with criminal convictions or pending charges, DUIs, assaults, drug offenses, etc. Listen, you're going to go to someone else's country, don't break the law. Don't even steal a candy bar. But for the others, they usually have already been to the court system. They chose to ignore the legal order to leave. They're just going to stay. It's one of those situations where I said earlier, where no means, I'll stay anyway. The idea that ICE is just picking random people off the street is a myth. This is a lead-driven agency that focuses on people who've already broken the laws or ignored a judge. And the common thread in all of these rebuttals is accountability. Protesters want to hold the agents accountable for doing their job, but we should be holding the system accountable for being consistent. You can't have a nation without a front door and a lock. You can't. So it's clear that the conversation around immigration it's heated, but we have to look past the slogans and the protests. At the end of the day, ICE is an agency doing a job that Congress asked them to do. And when we support the work they do, we aren't saying that the system is perfect. We're saying that laws have to mean something. If you don't like a law, you work to change it at the ballot box. You go vote. You don't harass the people who are tasked with keeping our community safe from human traffickers, drug smugglers, violent offenders. Protesting the men and women on the front line doesn't fix our immigration system. It just creates more chaos and puts everyone at risk. We need to focus on the real solutions in Washington, rather than making the jobs of our law enforcement officers even more dangerous. Listen, that's all I got. And this was longer than I expected, but you guys are just really driving me crazy and you're getting on my nerves. I'll see you guys at the next Be Wise podcast. I'm Chris. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I need followers. I need people to listen to what I have to say. You guys take care.